The crimson sky of Tylox 9 burned with an intensity that would have blinded most organic life forms. Captain Elena Rodriguez gripped the shuttle's emergency control interface, her muscles coiled with a tension born of years of deep space exploration training. Warning systems screamed their electronic death songs, oxygen levels dropping, hull integrity compromised, primary and backup navigation completely offline. Most pilots would have surrendered to panic. Most species would have accepted their fate. Elena was not most pilots. Her hands moved with calculated precision, rerouting emergency power through backup systems that weren't even supposed to exist. The shuttle's artificial intelligence had long since gone silent, its circuits fried by the planet's intense electromagnetic interference. But human ingenuity required no artificial assistance. The craft shuddered violently, crystal-like formations outside the viewscreen cutting through the atmosphere like millions of razor-sharp teeth. Tylox 9 wasn't just a hostile planet. It was a living mechanism designed to reject any form of intrusion. Radiation levels spiked beyond anything recorded in galactic exploration databases. Atmospheric pressure fluctuated with impossible speed, creating localized storms that could crush conventional spacecraft in milliseconds. This was a world that laughed at the concept of survival. Elena's survival suit, composed of adaptive nanomaterials developed by the most advanced human research teams, began its defensive protocols. Micro-layers started shifting, creating additional protective barriers against the environmental assault. Each layer responded to the changing conditions, a living shield that adapted faster than the planet could attack. The shuttle's trajectory became a dance of controlled destruction. Where a conventional pilot would have fought against the planet's pull, Elena worked with it. She understood that survival meant becoming part of the environment, not fighting against it. Each micro-adjustment was a calculated risk. Every movement a chess move against a planetary opponent that didn't play by any known rules. Exterior sensors, still functioning despite the incredible stress, began recording data that would later make xenobiologists question everything they understood about planetary interactions. The crystal formations weren't just geological structures. They were dynamic, responsive systems that seemed to react to the shuttle's approach. A normal species would have seen only destruction. Elena saw opportunity. The shuttle's emergency beacon activated, not as a cry for help, but as a data transmission. Compressed information about the planet's composition, atmospheric dynamics, and radiation patterns began broadcasting on multiple frequencies. Even in potential moments of total destruction, humans collected knowledge. Impact was inevitable. The last few seconds stretched into an eternity of calculation. Elena's mind processed countless variables: shuttle structural integrity, potential landing zones, survival equipment status, personal physical condition. Her body prepared, muscles tensing, neural implants engaging emergency response protocols. Crystal formations rushed toward the viewscreen. The universe held its breath. When the shuttle finally struck the surface, it didn't simply crash, it transformed. Elena's final actions redirected energy, used the very force of destruction to create potential survival zones. Fuel cells would become power sources. Hull plating could be repurposed. Nothing was waste. Everything was a resource. The impact created a crater that defied geological expectations. Where any other craft would have been obliterated, this vessel seemed to have been deliberately placed, almost surgically inserted into the planet's hostile landscape. Dust and crystalline fragments hung in the air, slowly settling around the partially intact shuttle. For several long moments, nothing moved. Then, a hand emerged from the wreckage. Not scrambling, not desperate. Calculated, precise. Captain Elena Rodriguez pulled herself from the shuttle, her survival suit already running comprehensive environmental assessments. The suit's heads-up display flickered with information: radiation levels, atmospheric composition, local gravitational variations, a constant stream of data that would terrify any other species. To her, it was simply information to be processed and overcome. Tylox 9 had thrown its worst at her, and she was just getting started. The planet didn't know it yet, but it had just met its match. The Vexenary research vessel hung in the cold vacuum of space, its crystalline hull shimmering with sensors that could detect the most minute variations in planetary conditions. Chief researcher Zigzadel's tentacular appendages moved with increasing agitation across the holographic display, tracing and retracing the impossible data stream emerging from Silox 9. "This cannot be accurate," Zigzadel muttered, his translator implant converting the complex linguistic clicks and resonances into standard galactic communication. The junior xenobiologist, Lyrak, watched with a mixture of scientific curiosity and growing disbelief. The planet below was nothing short of a planetary nightmare. Silox 9 had been classified as a Class 9 extreme environment, a designation that meant certain death for any known biological entity. Its atmosphere was a constant maelstrom of corrosive gases, radiation levels that would vaporize organic matter in seconds, and crystal formations that could slice through reinforced starship hulls like tissue paper. No expedition had ever survived more than 3 standard planetary rotations on its surface. Yet here was a single entity, moving with deliberate purpose across a landscape that should have been instantly fatal. Lyrak's sensory tendrils quivered as she adjusted the research vessel's most sensitive tracking systems. "The human's environmental suit," she began, her voice a careful modulation of scientific excitement. "It's not just protecting her, it's actively interacting with the environment." Zigzadel's primary visual receptor zoomed in on the holographic representation. The suit wasn't a static barrier. It was a dynamic system that seemed to be in constant molecular communication with the hostile surroundings. Where any other protective gear would have dissolved or failed, this suit appeared to be adapting, changing its molecular structure in real time. "Impossible," the chief researcher whispered, though the word carried no conviction. The Vexenary research team represented the pinnacle of galactic scientific achievement. Their civilization had mapped thousands of planetary systems, developed technologies that could manipulate fundamental universal forces, and explored environments that would drive most species to madness. Yet everything they understood about biological survival was being challenged by this single human. Radiation levels that should have been instantly lethal continued to register on their sensors. The human moved through areas that would have killed a Vexenary researcher instantaneously, even in their most advanced protective gear. Each step was a calculation, each movement a defiance of known scientific principles. "Run the probability matrices again," Zigzadel commanded the vessel's central intelligence. Holographic calculations began to dance across the research display, endless strings of numerical possibilities that all pointed to one conclusion. Survival was statistically impossible. Lyrak's junior status did not prevent her from noting something the senior researchers were overlooking. "Sir," she ventured, her communication tentacles carefully positioned to show appropriate deference, "the human isn't just surviving. She appears to be gathering information." Indeed, the human's movements were far from random. Where a desperate survivor might frantically seek shelter, this individual was systematically scanning the environment. Each movement was precise, each moment an opportunity for data collection. The research vessel's communication specialist, a veteran of countless planetary surveys, broke the tension. "Incoming data transmission," they announced, tentacles dancing across communication interfaces. "It appears to be a compressed informational packet from the surface." Zigzadel's entire body went still, a rare display of shock for a Vexenary researcher. Transmissions were not supposed to be possible under these conditions. The electromagnetic interference alone should have made communication completely impossible. Yet here was a detailed scientific survey of the planet's most hostile regions, transmitted with a clarity that defied all known technological limitations. "This is impossible," Zigzadel repeated, though the words now carried a different weight. Lyrak's response was soft but profound. "Impossible for us, perhaps." The holographic display continued to track the human's progress. Where the Vexenary saw certain death, she saw an environment to be understood, mapped, and ultimately survived. Each moment challenged everything they knew about biological limits, technological capabilities, and the very nature of survival itself. Silox 9 had been a scientific mystery. Now it was becoming something else entirely. A demonstration of potential. The crystalline ground of Silox 9 shimmered with an otherworldly iridescence that would have mesmerized less focused observers. Captain Alina Rodriguez saw beyond the surface beauty. She saw potential. Each step was a calculated analysis, her suit's advanced sensors probing deeper than any previous scientific expedition could have imagined. The first sample collection began with a precision that would have impressed the most meticulous geological research teams. Where others might have seen only dangerous terrain, Alina identified a complex molecular ecosystem waiting to be understood. The crystals weren't just geological formations. They were living systems with intricate energy signatures that defied conventional planetary science. Her multi-tool hummed to life, its adaptive scanning array beginning a comprehensive molecular breakdown. The device was more than a simple instrument. It was an extension of human technological innovation. Nanodiagnostic systems began mapping the crystal's internal structure, analyzing composition, energy transfer capabilities, and potential structural modifications. Aboard the Vexenary research vessel, Chief Researcher Zix et al. Watched the incoming data stream with mounting fascination. The human scanning techniques revealed layers of planetary complexity that their most advanced research had missed entirely. Each scan was a surgical strike of information gathering, turning the hostile environment into a book waiting to be read. "Look at the energy transfer patterns," Lyrak whispered, her sensory tendrils trembling with scientific excitement. The crystal formations weren't just passive geological structures. They were dynamic systems that responded to external stimuli in ways that challenged everything the Vexenary understood about planetary ecosystems. Alina's suit began processing the initial scan results. The crystals contained an unprecedented energy signature, a complex molecular structure that could potentially serve multiple survival purposes: radiation shielding, potential power generation, structural reinforcement. Where most would see only danger, she saw a comprehensive resource waiting to be utilized. The first physical sample came next. A precisely targeted sonic frequency created a microscopic fracture, allowing her to extract a manageable piece without destabilizing the surrounding formation. Each movement was calculated, each action a careful dance with the planetary environment. Radiation levels that would have vaporized most biological entities seemed to bend around her, a testament to the advanced adaptive capabilities of her survival technology. The suit wasn't just protecting her. It was actively engaging with the environmental conditions, creating a dynamic shield that processed and neutralized potential threats in real time. Lyrak's research notes began to overflow with impossible observations. The human isn't just collecting samples, she noted to Zegzatel. She's conducting a full environmental assessment while simultaneously preparing survival strategies. Indeed, Alina's approach was holistic. Each scan, each sample collection was part of a broader strategy. The crashed shuttle wasn't just a failure, it was a potential resource. The hostile environment wasn't an obstacle, it was a complex system to be understood and ultimately conquered. The crystal sample began its initial analysis. Spectroscopic readings revealed layers of complexity that would have taken Vexenary researchers decades to comprehend. Energy transfer capabilities, molecular restructuring potentials, radiation absorption mechanisms that seemed to defy known physical laws. "Impossible," Zegzatel muttered, a phrase that was losing its meaning with each passing moment. Alina's methodical approach continued. She wasn't just surviving, she was learning. Each moment was an opportunity for data collection, each step a calculated risk that pushed the boundaries of known scientific understanding. The planetary surface began to reveal its secrets, not through forceful extraction, but through careful, respectful investigation. The research vessel's sensors continued to track her movements. Where conventional wisdom suggested immediate retreat, she moved with a purpose that spoke of something deeper than mere survival. This was exploration in its purest form. Human curiosity transformed into a survival strategy that turned impossibility into opportunity. As the first sample was carefully secured, Alina looked across the hostile landscape. Most would see a death trap. She saw a challenge waiting to be understood. Thylox 9 had met its match, and the planet didn't even know it yet. The first structural elements took shape with a precision that defied the harsh environment of Thylox 9. Captain Alina Rodriguez transformed the planet's most dangerous components into her primary building materials, a process that would have seemed impossible to any other species in the known galaxy. The crystal samples collected earlier became the foundation of her survival strategy. Her multi-tool, now fully interfaced with the environmental analysis systems, began a complex molecular restructuring process. What were once razor-sharp, radiation-emitting crystal formations became adaptive building components with properties that exceeded the most advanced human engineering. Aboard the Vexenary research vessel, Chief Researcher Zexetel and Lyrak watched in stunned silence. The holographic displays captured every moment of Alina's construction process, a method that seemed to blur the lines between survival and scientific innovation. "She's not just building a shelter," Lyrak observed, her sensory tendrils vibrating with scientific excitement. "She's creating a living system." Indeed, each structural element was carefully considered. The crashed shuttle was no longer just a failed vehicle, it had become a resource cache. Hull plating was carefully cut and reshaped. Damaged communication arrays were stripped and repurposed. Nothing went to waste. The shelter's foundation began with a series of crystalline supports that seemed to grow from the planetary surface rather than being imposed upon it. Alina's suit continuously analyzed and adjusted the molecular structure, creating a symbiotic relationship between the shelter and the surrounding environment. Radiation shielding came from an unexpected source. The very crystals that would have been lethal to most life forms were carefully treated and integrated into the shelter's outer layer. Each piece was positioned with mathematical precision, creating a defensive structure that could withstand the planet's most extreme conditions. Zexetel's research team compiled frantic notes. The construction methods defied everything they understood about structural engineering. "Look at the energy transfer," the chief researcher muttered. The shelter wasn't just a static structure. It was a dynamic system that actively interacted with the surrounding environment. Thermal regulation became another marvel of human innovation. The crystal formations, when properly treated, could absorb and redistribute thermal energy with an efficiency that would have taken Vexenary engineers decades to develop. Alina's suit worked in constant communication with the emerging structure, making micro-adjustments that optimized every aspect of the shelter's performance. Water collection systems emerged from what should have been impossible conditions. The atmospheric moisture, a toxic mix of corrosive gases and radiation-charged particles, was carefully filtered and transformed. Each drop collected was a testament to human ingenuity. "It's not just survival," Lyrak whispered. "It's terraforming in real time." The shelter's external appearance was deceptive. From a distance, it seemed to grow organically from the planetary surface, a chameleon-like structure that both blended with and transformed its environment. Up close, it was a marvel of adaptive engineering. Each component carefully selected, treated, and positioned to maximize survival potential. Power generation came from multiple sources. The radiation that would have been fatal to most species became an energy resource. Damaged shuttle components were rewired, repurposed, integrated into a power grid that seemed to breathe with the planetary ecosystem. Zexetel's primary visual receptor tracked every movement. The human wasn't just surviving. She was demonstrating a level of planetary adaptation that challenged fundamental understanding of biological and technological limitations. Communication systems began to take shape. What remained of the shuttle's communication arrays were carefully reconstructed, creating a network that could potentially penetrate the planet's intense electromagnetic interference. Each component was a puzzle piece, carefully selected and positioned. As the shelter continued to take shape, it became clear that this was more than a simple survival structure. It was a scientific laboratory. a research station, a statement of human potential. The Vexenary researchers watched in a combination of horror and fascination. Their most advanced exploration vehicles would have been destroyed within hours. Yet here was a single human, transforming a planetary death trap into a functional living space. Silox 9 had met its match, and the planet was losing. The shelter stood as a testament to human innovation, a beacon of possibility in the most hostile environment imaginable. The interior of the shelter came alive with a technological symphony that would have made even the most advanced engineering teams marvel. Every damaged component of the crashed shuttle found new purpose, transformed through Captain Alina Rodriguez's unparalleled problem-solving skills. Communication arrays, once designed for deep space transmissions, now became intricate solar collectors. Their fractured surfaces were carefully realigned, nano repair systems working tirelessly to convert what should have been electronic waste into energy-gathering marvels. Each broken circuit told a story of potential, waiting to be rewritten. Aboard the Vexenary research vessel, Chief Researcher Zix et al. Watched the holographic displays with increasing fascination. The humans' approach to technology was nothing short of revolutionary. Where the Vexenary would have discarded damaged equipment, Alina saw only opportunities. "It's not repair," Lyric observed, her sensory tendrils trembling with scientific excitement. "It's complete technological reimagination." Hull plating became structural supports, its molecular composition carefully modified to enhance the shelter's defensive capabilities. Damaged computer cores were stripped and repurposed, their processing units integrated into a complex environmental monitoring system that seemed to breathe with the planetary ecosystem. The shelter's internal systems began to take shape. What had been a collection of broken components became a unified technological organism. Power distribution networks emerged from seemingly random electrical components. Cooling systems were created from fractured thermal regulators. Each piece found its place in a grand design that defied conventional engineering principles. Alina's suit worked in constant communication with the emerging systems. Nano-diagnostic tools continuously analyzed and optimized every connection, every energy transfer. The line between technology and organic adaptation began to blur. Atmospheric filtration became a marvel of improvised engineering. Damaged life support systems were carefully reconstructed, transforming the planet's toxic atmosphere into breathable air. Each molecular filter was a testament to human innovation, turning potential death into a sustainable resource. Zivix research notes overflowed with impossible observations. The human wasn't just surviving. She was creating an entire ecosystem from the wreckage of her failed mission. Every component played multiple roles. Every system was interconnected in ways that challenged fundamental understanding of technological design. Water collection and purification systems emerged from the most unexpected sources. Condensation collectors were crafted from fractured communication arrays. Filtration mechanisms used the very crystals that would have been fatal to most life forms, now transformed into sophisticated purification tools. "Look at the energy efficiency," Lyric whispered to the chief researcher. The shelter's systems operated at levels that should have been impossible. Each component worked at near-perfect optimization, a level of technological integration that would have taken Vexenary engineers decades to achieve. Medical systems took shape with equal innovation. Emergency medical kits were carefully dismantled and reconstructed. Diagnostic tools were integrated into the shelter's core systems, creating a comprehensive health monitoring network that could respond to environmental changes in milliseconds. The shelter's technological heart beat with a rhythm that spoke of human adaptability. Communication systems were carefully reconstructed, potentially capable of penetrating the planet's intense electromagnetic interference. Each repurposed component told a story of innovation born from necessity. Power generation became a complex dance of resourcefulness. Radiation that would have been fatal became an energy source. Solar collection systems were crafted from what should have been irreparably damaged components. Every system was interconnected, every energy transfer optimized. Zix primary visual receptor tracked the emerging technological marvel. This wasn't just survival technology. It was a comprehensive planetary adaptation system. The shelter was becoming a living organism, continuously adapting, continuously improving. As the technological systems stabilized, Alina paused. Her suit's heads-up display showed a complex network of interconnected systems, each operating at peak efficiency. What had begun as a desperate survival situation had transformed into a sophisticated research station. The Vexenary researchers watched in a combination of horror and fascination. Their most advanced exploration vehicles would have been rendered useless within hours. Yet here was a single human, turning technological wreckage into a functional living system. Thylox 9 had met its match, and the planet was losing. The shelter stood as a testament to human ingenuity, a beacon of possibility in the most hostile environment imaginable. The interior of the shelter transformed into a living laboratory of unprecedented complexity. Captain Alina Rodriguez stood at the center of a carefully crafted ecosystem that defied every known principle of planetary survival. What had begun as a desperate crash landing was now becoming a testament to human adaptability. Atmospheric processing became her first major challenge. The toxic environment of Thylox 9 would have killed most life forms in seconds. Alina's system began a meticulous molecular conversion process, breaking down the planet's corrosive gases into breathable components. Radiation-charged particles became filtered energy sources, each molecular transformation a delicate dance of scientific innovation. Aboard the Vexenary research vessel, Chief Researcher Zix et al. Watched the incoming data streams with growing disbelief. The shelter wasn't just surviving. It was actively transforming the planetary environment around it. "This is impossible," Lyrak whispered, her sensory tendrils trembling with scientific excitement. "She's not just adapting to the environment. She's changing it." Water generation emerged as a marvel of improvised science. The planet's atmospheric moisture, a toxic cocktail of corrosive compounds and radiation-charged particles, underwent a sophisticated filtration process. Molecular separators, crafted from damaged shuttle components, began extracting potable water from what should have been certain chemical death. Nutrition became the next frontier of survival. Compact emergency nutrient synthesizers, designed for short-term space survival, were carefully modified. The system began breaking down the molecular structures of local crystal formations, extracting trace nutrients, and converting them into a sustainable food source. Zivzadal's research notes overflowed with impossible observations. The human was creating a closed-loop ecosystem that seemed to breathe with its own living intelligence. Each system was interconnected, each process optimized to extract maximum survival potential from the most hostile environment imaginable. Radiation shielding took on a life of its own. The very crystals that would have been fatal to most life forms were carefully integrated into a dynamic protective system. Molecular restructuring allowed the shelter to absorb and redistribute harmful radiation, turning potential death into a renewable energy source. "Look at the energy transfer patterns," Lyrak observed to the chief researcher. The shelter's ecosystem operated at levels of efficiency that should have been scientifically impossible. Each molecular interaction was carefully balanced, each energy transfer optimized to near-perfect performance. Biological waste processing became another marvel of human innovation. Nothing was wasted. Every organic component was carefully broken down and reintegrated into the shelter's ecosystem. Damaged medical equipment was repurposed into advanced recycling systems that seemed to breathe with their own intelligence. The shelter's internal environment began to stabilize. Temperature regulation systems worked in perfect harmony with the external conditions. Where the planet's surface temperature fluctuated with impossible violence, the interior maintained a carefully controlled environment. Oxygen generation became a complex molecular dance. The toxic atmospheric compounds were carefully separated, their molecular structures broken down and reconstructed. What should have been instantly fatal became a sustainable life support system. Zigzadal's primary visual receptor tracked every moment of the transformation. This wasn't just survival technology. It was a comprehensive planetary adaptation system. The shelter was becoming a living organism, continuously adapting, continuously improving. Plant cultivation emerged as an unexpected possibility. Compact emergency botanical systems, designed for long-term space missions, were carefully modified. Using the molecular components extracted from the planet's crystal formations, Alina began the impossible task of creating a sustainable internal ecosystem. The first green shoots appeared, a defiance of everything the planet should have allowed. Tiny plants, genetically modified and carefully nurtured, began to take root in the carefully prepared environment. Each leaf was a testament to human determination. Communication systems continued to evolve. The shelter's technological network began to understand and interpret the planetary environment with increasing sophistication. What had begun as a desperate survival situation was transforming into a comprehensive research station. As the ecosystem stabilized, Alina paused. Her suit's heads-up display showed a complex network of interconnected systems, each operating at peak efficiency. The shelter was no longer just a place of survival. It was becoming a living testament to human potential. The Vexenary researchers watched in a combination of horror and fascination. Their most advanced exploration vehicles would have been rendered useless within hours. Yet here was a single human, turning a planetary death trap into a functional living system. Thylox 9 had met its match, and the planet was losing. The shelter stood as a testament to human ingenuity, a beacon of possibility in the most hostile environment imaginable. The communication attempt came without warning. A burst of complex data streams erupted from the shelter, cutting through Gylox 9's intense electromagnetic interference like a knife through mist. Captain Alina Rodriguez stood ready, her fingers dancing across improvised communication interfaces that defied conventional technological understanding. Aboard the Vexenary research vessel, Chief Researcher Ziggs Adel felt the first tremor of genuine fear. The data transmission was unlike anything their species had ever encountered, a multilayered communication that was simultaneously a scientific report, a survival log, and an invitation. "They're attempting to communicate," Lyrak whispered, her sensory tendrils vibrating with a mixture of scientific excitement and primal apprehension. The transmission was a masterpiece of information compression. Detailed planetary surveys intertwined with survival logs, molecular analysis reports merged with environmental adaptation strategies. Where most species would have sent a simple distress signal, Alina had created a comprehensive knowledge transfer. Ziggs Adel's translation systems worked overtime. The communication wasn't just a message, it was a complete contextual framework. Molecular diagrams explained the shelter's construction. Environmental adaptation techniques were laid out with mathematical precision. Each layer of the transmission revealed another level of human ingenuity. "It's an invitation," Lyrak realized, her voice barely a whisper. "She's not just asking for rescue. She's offering collaboration." The shelter's communication systems continued to pulse with an almost living intelligence. Advanced linguistic algorithms worked to break down the Vexenary communication protocols, creating real-time translation matrices that adapted with each incoming signal. Communication specialist Frentok could barely process the incoming data. "The complexity is beyond anything in our records," they reported, tentacles moving frantically across communication interfaces. "It's not just a message, it's a comprehensive knowledge transfer." Alina's transmission included everything. Detailed molecular analyses of the planet's crystal formations, survival techniques developed in real time, comprehensive environmental adaptation strategies that challenged everything the Vexenary understood about planetary exploration. The first direct communication was startlingly simple. "Ready to discuss," came the message, "when you are." Ziggs Adel's entire body went still. The simplicity was a facade. Behind those 5 words lay volumes of scientific potential. The transmission continued, a constant flow of information that painted a picture of survival that bordered on the miraculous. The shelter's communication systems were a technological marvel. Damaged shuttle components had been transformed into a communication network that could penetrate the most challenging electromagnetic environment. Each repurposed circuit, told a story of human innovation. Lyric began compiling initial analysis reports. This isn't just survival, she noted to Zegzadel. This is a comprehensive planetary research opportunity. The Vexenary research team watched in stunned silence. Their most advanced exploration vehicles would have been destroyed within hours. Yet here was a single human, not just surviving but preparing to engage in scientific collaboration from the most hostile environment imaginable. Communication protocols continued to evolve. The shelter's systems began to understand and interpret the Vexenary communication patterns with increasing sophistication. What had begun as a potential rescue scenario was transforming into a potential first contact situation. How are you alive? The Vexenary's first direct question came through, a mixture of scientific curiosity and barely contained disbelief. Alina's response was characteristic in its simplicity and depth. Adaptation is our specialty. Each transmission revealed another layer of human potential. Molecular adaptation techniques, environmental transformation strategies, survival methodologies that challenged fundamental understanding of biological and technological limitations. The research vessel's communication systems worked overtime, processing the unprecedented data stream. This was more than first contact. This was a fundamental reassessment of what was possible. Zegzadel's research notes overflowed with impossible observations. The human wasn't just surviving. She was preparing to thrive. Each communication was a testament to human adaptability. Each transmission a challenge to everything the Vexenary understood about planetary exploration. As the communication continued, it became clear that this was no ordinary survival scenario. This was a demonstration of human potential that would reshape galactic understanding. Thylox 9 had met its match, and the planet was about to become a classroom. The shelter stood as a beacon of possibility, a testament to human ingenuity in the most hostile environment imaginable. The transmission from Thylox 9 would become a turning point in galactic exploration history. Captain Alina Rodriguez's survival had transformed from a potential tragedy into a moment that would reshape fundamental understanding of biological and technological potential. The Galactic Council convened in an emergency session. Holographic representatives from thousands of advanced civilizations gathered to review the unprecedented data stream. Where most would have seen a simple survival scenario, the most astute researchers recognized something far more profound. Chief Researcher Zegzadel's preliminary report became an instant scientific landmark. The document detailed how a single human had not just survived, but fundamentally transformed one of the most hostile planetary environments ever encountered. Each page was a testament to human adaptability, each paragraph a challenge to established scientific understanding. This is more than survival. The Council, tentacles moving with careful precision. This is a fundamental demonstration of adaptive potential that challenges everything we understand about biological and technological limitations. The shelter on Thylox 9 became an instant point of fascination. Detailed scans revealed a technological ecosystem that defied conventional understanding. Every component had been carefully repurposed, every system optimized beyond what should have been possible. The very definition of survival was being rewritten. Lyric's research notes added depth to the initial findings. The human had not just survived. She had created a comprehensive research station from what should have been fatal circumstances. Molecular adaptation techniques that would take most species centuries to develop had been implemented in a matter of days. Diplomatic channels began to buzz with excitement. The Vexenary research team's initial hesitation transformed into genuine scientific enthusiasm. Here was a species that didn't just explore the galaxy. They engaged with it on a fundamental level, turning challenges into opportunities. The molecular adaptation techniques alone were revolutionary. Alina had demonstrated the ability to transform toxic environments into sustainable ecosystems. Planetary colonization strategies that had been theoretical became suddenly possible. What was once considered an impossible environment became a potential frontier. Communication specialists worked tirelessly to fully decode the comprehensive data transmission. Each layer revealed another marvel of human innovation. Survival strategies intertwined with scientific research. Environmental adaptation techniques were laid out with mathematical precision. The shelter itself became a subject of intense study. Technological systems that should have failed instantly have been transformed into a living, breathing ecosystem. Every damaged component told a story of innovation born from necessity. The line between technology and biological adaptation began to blur. Planetary exploration teams began to reassess their most fundamental approaches. The human demonstration showed that survival was more than equipment. It was a mindset, a fundamental approach to understanding and engaging with unknown environments. Economic implications quickly followed the scientific revelations. Exploration companies began to redesign their entire approach to planetary survey missions. The potential for human-led expeditions suddenly seemed limitless. Worlds once considered completely uninhabitable became potential frontiers. The Galactic Council debates grew heated. Some saw the transmission as a threat, a demonstration of human potential that challenged established technological hierarchies. Others recognized it as an unprecedented opportunity for collaborative exploration. Alina's communication continued, each transmission a masterclass in scientific diplomacy. She offered collaboration, shared knowledge, presented the survival scenario not as a personal triumph, but as a collective opportunity for scientific understanding. Technological research teams began to analyze every aspect of the transmission. The communication systems alone were a marvel. Damaged shuttle components transformed into a complex communication network that could penetrate the most challenging electromagnetic environments. The most profound impact was cultural. Humanity was no longer seen as a young, inexperienced species. They were recognized as true galactic explorers, a civilization that didn't just navigate the stars but fundamentally engaged with them. Etel's final report to the Galactic Council became a landmark document. Humanity, the report concluded, is not just another species in the galactic community. They are a force of adaptation, a living demonstration of potential that challenges our most fundamental understanding of survival and exploration. The shelter on Silox 9 stood as more than a survival structure. It was a beacon of possibility, a testament to what could be achieved through innovation, determination, and an unwavering spirit of exploration. Silox 9 had been transformed, and the galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had arrived, not with weapons or conquest, but with an unparalleled ability to understand, adapt, and thrive.